there! What is up, Patriots? I hope everyone had an amazing weekend, and welcome to O'Connor's Quick Strike. I'm John O'Connor, and I'm coming to you with 3 stories the mainstream media desperately hopes you'll ignore. It's Monday, September 29th, and boy do I have some game changers for you today. So let's just jump into it. Grab your coffee, buckle up, and let's dive into the stories that prove the conservative movement isn't just alive. We're absolutely crushing it.
3.
Alright, Patriots. Let's start with a story that perfectly encapsulates everything wrong with our education system and everything right about President Trump's immigration enforcement. Last Friday morning in Des Moines, Iowa, ICE agents made an arrest that should have every parent in America asking hard questions about who's running their kids' schools. Now, I was just in Des Moines last October for the half marathon. Let me say, when I was there, it was the cleanest, larger city that I've ever been to. And the free 2-hour state capitol tour is amazing. Plus, my fiance and I stopped by and checked out the Field of Dreams site from the movie. Before getting back into the story, Iowa is really God's country. It's a beautiful state, and you should definitely put it on your bucket list. Anyways, ICE arrested Dr. Ian Roberts, the superintendent of Iowa's largest schools district, for being in the country illegally and, get this, carrying a loaded handgun. Now, this isn't just any superintendent. This guy was making over $300,000 a year running schools for 30,000 students while being here illegally with a deportation order hanging over his head since May of 2024. Think about that for a second. A man was ordered deported by a federal judge over a year ago, was still collecting a massive taxpayer-funded salary to run our children's education. But here's where it gets even better, or worse, depending on how you look at it. When ICE agents approached Roberts in his school-issued vehicle and identified themselves as immigration officers, this respected educator did what any law-abiding citizen would do, right? Wrong. He floored it and let them on a chase before abandoning his car in the woods. When they finally caught him with the help of Iowa State Patrol canine units, guess what they found? A loaded Glock 19 handgun, $3,000 in cash, and a fixed-blade hunting knife. Now remember, folks, it's a federal crime for someone in the country illegally to possess a firearm. So not only was this guy here illegally, not only was he stealing taxpayer money through his fraudulent employment, but he was committing additional federal felonies by carrying that gun. ICE's Sam Olson put it perfectly. How this illegal alien was hired without work authorization, a final order of removal, and a prior weapons charge is beyond comprehension and should alarm the parents of that school district. Prior weapons charge? Oh yeah. Roberts had a weapon possession charge dating back to 2020. So the Des Moines School Board knew this guy had gun troubles and hired him anyway. The level of negligence here is staggering. But wait. It gets worse. Who do you think is leading the charge to defend this illegal alien who was carrying weapons around children's schools? None other than Jackie Norris, the school board chair and, I kid you not, former chief of staff to Michelle Obama. That's right. An Obama insider is calling for radical empathy for a man who fled federal law enforcement with a loaded weapon in a school district vehicle. This is the education establishment in a nutshell. They'll hire anyone, overlook any red flags, ignore any criminal history, as long as that person checks the right political boxes. The school board claims they did a background check, but somehow missed that he was legally authorized to work, that he had a deportation order, and that he had previous weapon charges. Either they are completely incompetent, or they knew and didn't care. Neither option is acceptable when we're talking about the safety of 30,000 children. This wasn't some unfortunate mistake or bureaucratic mix-up. This was a system deliberately designed to protect the wrong people while putting our kids in danger. I mean, thank God for ICE agents who are willing to do their job despite facing constant attacks from the left.
2.
Now, let's pivot to some incredible news from the world stage that proves President Trump's peace through strength doctrine is working exactly as designed. On Friday, speaking to reporters on the South Lawn before heading to the Ryder Cup, President Trump made an announcement that should be front-page news everywhere. And I quote, "It's looking like we have a deal on Gaza. I think it's a deal that will get the hostages back. It's going to be a deal that will end the war. It's going to be peace." Let that sink in for a moment. After nearly 2 years of war, after more than 66,000 casualties, after the complete failure of Biden's foreign policy team to make any meaningful progress, Donald Trump is on the verge of ending one of the most intractable conflicts in modern history. This isn't some pie-in-the-sky wishful thinking. This is the result of intensive negotiations that Trump has been personally driving. Just this past Tuesday at the United Nations General Assembly, Trump met with leaders from 8 Arab and Muslim countries to present his comprehensive 21-point peace plan. And here's the beautiful part. Every single one of those leaders expressed support for Trump's framework. We're talking about Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Egypt, Jordan, Turkey, Indonesia, and Pakistan, all coming together behind an American-led peace initiative. When is the last time you saw that kind of unified Arab support for any American proposal? The plan itself is brilliant in its simplicity and strength. All hostages, living and dead, would be released within 48 hours of the agreement. Israel would gradually withdraw from Gaza as a permanent ceasefire takes effect. Hamas would be completely excluded from any future governance of Gaza. They are done, finished, eliminated as a political force. Instead, you'd have a new governing structure that includes both Palestinian representatives and an international oversight body, all funded by Arab countries who have committed real money to reconstruction efforts. And get this, those same Arab countries are providing multinational security forces to keep the peace. But Trump didn't stop there. He made it crystal clear to all parties that Israel will not be allowed to annex the West Bank, addressing one of the key Arab concerns. At the same time, he told Hamas this is their final warning. Take the deal or face the consequences. Now, compare this to what we got from the Biden administration. 4 years of empty rhetoric, pointless shuttle diplomacy, and absolutely zero results. Biden's team couldn't broker peace in a church potluck, let alone in the Middle East. Trump, meanwhile, is using the same formula that brought us the Abraham Accords, the most significant Middle East peace breakthrough in decades. He's showing strength to our enemies, loyalty to our allies, and offering real incentives for peace to everyone involved. The Arab leaders who met with Trump issued a joint statement saying, and I quote, "We reaffirm our commitment to cooperate with President Trump and emphasize the importance of his leadership in order to end the war and open horizons for a just and lasting peace." Think about that language. His leadership. These are leaders who dealt with Biden for 4 years and got nowhere. Now, they're putting their faith in Trump's ability to deliver what everyone else failed to achieve. This is exactly why the world is safer when America leads from strength. This is exactly why Trump's foreign policy record is so superior to anything we've seen from the establishment in decades. And speaking of conservative victories around the world, let's head across the pond, where something absolutely incredible is happening that proves our populist movement is taking over the entire Western world. Remember Nigel Farage? The guy who led the Brexit movement and got Britain out of the European Union. Well, he's about to become the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and it's sending shockwaves through the global establishment. A massive new poll surveying over 13,000 British voters show Farage's populist Reform Party projected to win enough seats to form the next government if an election were held today. We are talking about a complete political earthquake that would make him the most powerful man in Britain. Let me put this in perspective for you, American patriots. Imagine if a brand new conservative party started from scratch and within just a few years was projected to beat both the Democrats and the Republicans combined. That's essentially what's happening in Britain right now. Farage's Reform Party currently holds just 5 seats in Britain's parliament. Think of it like having 5 House seats out of 650 total. But this new poll shows them winning 311 seats, which would make them the largest party and put Farage in charge of the entire country. Meanwhile, Britain's Labour Party, think of them as our version of Democrats, or their version of a Democrat, would get absolutely crushed. They won a massive victory just over a year ago, but now they're projected to lose 267 seats. The current Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, would go on from running the country to barely being relevant. And here's the kicker. Britain's so-called Conservative Party would finish in 4th place with just 45 seats. But here's the thing American conservatives need to understand. Britain's Conservative Party isn't actually conservative. They're basically rhinos who support mass immigration, globalist policies, and woke ideology. Sound familiar? Why is this seismic shift happening? Because the British people are finally waking up to what we've known here in America for years. The establishment parties have completely betrayed them on the issues that matter most. The latest polling shows Farage's Reform Party commanding 34% of the vote, while the Labour government has collapsed to just 16%. That's an 18-point lead for the populist movement. And Prime Minister Starmer? He's now officially the least popular British leader on record. Think worse approval ratings than Biden at his lowest point. The number one issue driving this historic revolt should sound very familiar to every Trump supporter: mass immigration. Just like here in America, the British establishment opened the floodgates to unlimited immigration while completely ignoring what their own people wanted. Farage has been making the exact same argument Trump made in 2016 and 2024. At a recent rally, he told supporters, "The population explosion of more than 10 million people in the last 20 years is the biggest contributor to our declining quality of life. People can't get health care. Young families can't afford homes. Nothing works anymore." Here's what's really incredible. Farage's Reform Party isn't just winning over traditional conservatives. They're picking up massive support from working class voters who used to vote for the Labour Party, just like how Trump brought in millions of former Democrats into our movement. Think about this for a second. Nigel Farage is the guy who almost single-handedly forced Britain out of the European Union against overwhelming establishment opposition. He's been fighting the globalist agenda for decades, getting mocked and attacked by the media just like Trump was. And now he's on the verge of running the entire country. That's the power of populist conservatism, when leaders actually fight for their people instead of just cutting deals with this establishment. This is bigger than just British politics, folks. What we're witnessing is the same populist conservative revolution that elected Trump, spreading across the entire Western world. Farage is basically the British version of Trump, a successful outsider who built a media following, took on the entire establishment, and refused to back down. And that's your O'Connor's Quick Strike for Monday, September 29th. 3 stories that perfectly capture where we are right now as a movement. We've got ICE doing the job they were hired to do, busting corrupt school officials apparently who put our children at risk while Obama's allies circle the wagons to protect them. We've got President Trump delivering the kind of peace deals that his predecessors could only dream about. And we've got conservative populists in Britain proving that our movement is truly global. The pattern is clear, patriots. When conservatives stand up and fight for their principles, when we refuse to back down to establishment pressure, when we put our people first instead of globalist ideology, we win. The media won't tell you these stories because they destroy their narrative about conservative decline. The establishment won't acknowledge them because they prove how badly they've failed their own people. But we know the truth. We can see what's happening around the world. The conservative revolution isn't coming. It's already here. And we're winning. Keep fighting. Keep believing and keep spreading the word. This is O'Connor's Quick Strike, and I'll see you Wednesday with 3 more stories they don't want you to hear. Remember, it's not just about being right. It's also about being victorious.